Hey, so this is going to be a personal episode, a reflection on 2024, an update on my life, and a discussion about what I want to do moving forward into 2025. So, I'm not going to edit out any of my mistakes or breathing or sighs or any of that. I'm just going to let myself talk and let this be unprofessional and raw. And I don't know why those things need to be antithetical to each other. So here we go. By this time in the year, I usually have my vision board made, my top 5 things of the year done. Everything's ready. Like, there's no loose ends to tie up. And I'm usually going to go out tonight and I have a new dress and I know exactly all the things. And I also don't feel the way that I do, which is in pain and kind of worried and really behind and overwhelmed and frazzled and all of these things. So yeah, that's the reality of what's happening in terms of me right now. And uh let's go back to 2024. Let's start there. So my goal for this year was to have more fun. Yesterday I went through some of my photos and I made up a carousel for social media, and I kind of did a bit of a recap reflection there. So let's do that here. So my goal originally, when I sat down at a table with some people to do a New Year's Day journaling session, was let's have more fun. Because for the past couple years, I have been focusing on work in my head. Like, that's what I feel like I have been doing, and I feel like I have not been having a lot of fun. And honestly, that is true. It is very true. I feel like I am most of the time working. My business takes up most of my hours. I am an entrepreneur. I am responsible for every dollar I make. And it's a lot. And not having, you know, I had support from my parents for a long time, much longer than most people do. And it's difficult. And, Matt doesn't it doesn't matter. So I I guess I've had like this feeling of resentment of how much fun I used to have versus how much fun I'm having now. And when I look at my photos, I can see how much color there is, how much fun there objectively is to someone else who's looking through it, right? From another perspective. There's balloons and flowers, and I have pink hair and hats and beautiful clothes and a nice house. And I guess I'm just saying, like, there is, from anyone else's perspective, not even just in America, like anywhere, like, it's just that I have a really good life. I really do. And it would be kind of insane for someone to look through my life and say, like, you're not having any fun. I mean, it's such an interesting situation to, when we get to this point in our psychology, or really just our physical state, when we have solved so many problems of survival, that we begin to have more existential ones. And that's really why we have so many psychological issues at this point in developed nations. And that's another topic. So, a couple months into the year, I realized that having more fun felt like a really, and I have developed a weird relationship with the word frivolous, trying to take it back, because frivolous doesn't really mean anything to me. I feel like you can be frivolous and that's fine, but having more fun felt like not a deep enough goal. It felt selfish. That's the right word. It felt selfish. And my goal, I still wanted to have more fun because the problem is that even though that my goal or my life looks like I'm having a lot of fun, I don't feel like I'm having a lot of fun. A lot of the fun that it looks like I'm having is for other people. It's for work. It's for photo shoots. And it's like, how I feel during those moments, I think is the important part. Like, am I able to relax or enjoy those times that you see? Or is it like all this kind of rush and hustle experience, right? So anyway, what happened a couple months into the year was that I morphed into another kind of goal, which was, and it wasn't necessarily specifically conscious at the time, but it just kind of happened and then it became a little more conscious, which was how to have fun, yes, sure, but also to take on more responsibility, how to make a bigger impact. And that really, I think, is something that is the biggest thing that's going to create everything for me, really. It's the thing that's been missing for me in a lot of ways. So I'm trying to pull up the post that I made yesterday. So I don't know. I've rejected responsibility for most of my life. I felt like I didn't have a lot of say in the responsibilities that I've had. I felt like I had to take on a lot of responsibilities at a very young age, and that made me resent responsibility. And because I lost freedom in different ways that didn't feel fair at a young age, that meant that I wanted to reclaim freedom and reject responsibility. And I don't know, like, it felt like responsibility meant no freedom. And that made me feel like I had a negative reaction towards it and just like, ugh, like, no responsibility. And I thought it was the antithesis of freedom. But now I'm understanding that one, that's selfish. And two, it's not really true, especially if you do it on your own terms. Having responsibility creates freedom the same way that like structure creates freedom, If you do stuff with like good time management, you actually have more time at the end of the day, right? So to do what you want to do anyway. And it also creates more empathy and more kindness for myself and other people. So responsibility is also something that comes up with like consistency and following through and all of these kinds of other lingering issues that at the age of 36, I have still not been able to completely master or have had an issue with. And also unconditionality in terms of relationships and not being able to have space, it's such a hokey word, like be able to just like be with people and respect who they are, why they are, how they are when they're different. So yeah, okay, so there's a lot that's been going on like in my head and my body and just becoming more centered, I think. I feel a lot more understanding in terms of disagreeing. I understand much more how values are nothing if they are not tested through loss and through pain. Values are just these ideas, these beliefs that we say that we have, but it's like how I always say, like, if you can say that you're a kind person, but if you are presented with an opportunity to be kind over and over again and then you don't do anything, it's like, are you kind or are you just like saying that you're kind and you're not? It's like how I say that like I'm a dancer, but like no I'm not. Like I haven't danced in 20 years. Like that no I'm not, right? So your values in the same way, your values aren't really anything if you can't keep them when it's hard. So I'm when if you can say that you are like kind or empathetic or whatever, like can you do that when someone tests you or when they don't agree with you? And I'm realizing that, I've disliked so often when people have not been able to disagree, right? And just like have differing opinions, but I've also understood now how defensive I've been when other people have disagreed, and it's just like this like gut reaction that happens, right? Like it's like a threat. But I'm becoming so much better at having just like intellectual discussions about different things and finding people that are able to do that and disagreeing peacefully and becoming less self-righteous and understanding also like how little I matter. I think I'm having like a bit of what people call, which again, I hate all these hokey hippie words, but an ego death. Like I started considering how, like all of the ways in which I have made an impact on people. And honestly, it wasn't much. I thought about like, what happened if I wasn't born? Like I really went through all these different scenarios and like, okay, probably that means that my brother also wasn't born because it would have changed this timeline, and my parents would have probably had a baby, but it would have been, at a different time, and then it would have changed my mom's trajectory for when she went to business school, like for going to get her start her business, and it would have probably still really messed up that child's life, and they probably would have had a lot of the same problems that I did because of the way that my parents would have treated them. But they would have been like an only child. And then I went through like all of these different scenarios of the ways that I have impacted other people, like the ripple effect. And like if I'm plucked out, me personally, what is actually missing? What's changed? And I'm not doing this in like a self-deprecating way. I was doing it in more of like a cosmic way of what am I adding? What am I doing? How am I actually really helping? And I started to think like, okay, like I one of the things that I was trying to think of, okay, well I've done, this work, right? This work is one of the things that matters, right? The merriment making, my business, I've written books, I've had programs, I have all these testimonials of people that say like things matter and they make a difference, right? So I was thinking like this one woman, Kalichi, she told me that after reading my book, she lost like over 100 pounds. And I thought about that. And then I immediately thought, well, you know what? I actually don't believe that it was me. I think that that person was ready to lose weight and to make a change that was specifically in that nature. And I was the catalyst for that. Like, she was super ready. She was oh, I have to cough. And then when she found my book, for whatever reason, like that clicked with her. And she was like, oh, yes, okay, this person can do it, I can do it. And yeah, technically that was the match that like lit the fire, or whatever the right metaphor is. But if there had been another book, whatever the next right thing that was inspiring that came along for her would have been the thing, because she was ready. And there's been plenty of times that that exact same message, that exact same book has hit someone, not hit someone, but like has come to someone. There's many, many, many people who have read my book and not made a big change, right? So what I'm saying is that I believe, oh crap, I'm so sorry. I told you it was going to be unprofessional. That is reminding me to look away from my screen, because all the side effects from my medicine now that we'll get into make me so sensitive to light and screens, and it's really bad. Okay. Anyway, what was I saying? So I just believe that like people are ready to make a change when they're ready. And yes, I think it's important for all of us to keep creating work. But if I hadn't been there, someone else would have. Okay. So then I'm thinking like all of these other ways that I've made an impact. And I came back really ultimately to my interpersonal relationships, specifically romantic ones, in ways that when I've had these like consistent tropes of men that I've dated, and they have the archetypes of them have either been these like kind of Peter Pan syndromes where they don't really know how to grow up, and they latch on to me for like for me to be the adult, and I kind of take care of them in this Florence Nightingale kind of situation. And then I can't take it anymore, and I dump them, and they end up getting their stuff together. And then I see them later in life, and they're like a full adult. And it's really right after we break up that happens. And then the other archetype is that I am attracted to like these con men, and they date me, and usually it's been a serial situation where they have been conning women over and over and over again. But then when they date me, for whatever reason, I mean, I guess I'm the reason they feel, with the exception of one, they feel guilty, and they stop their behavior with me, and they change their life. And in that way, they also change, and they thank me in that way. So like I I was thinking about like how without me, maybe those people would not have changed, right? But like, is that enough, to to make an effect, to warrant a ripple of a life? So that's quite existential and a complete other tangent. But that's what I meant by understanding how little I matter in a good way. And I think that I have been deeply selfish and deeply narcissistic for so long without really even understanding it, or actually thinking that, and entitled, and thinking that all of these traits are actually valued and good, and that by being the star of your own movie and like taking self-love to a way that is not really the point, right? Like self-love isn't about being perfect or being worshipped or having fans or like whatever. It's really just about being yourself. And I think that maybe really understanding exactly how not pointless, but it's not a nihilistic thing either. I still believe in like optimistic nihilism, the way that I define it, but I don't know. Maybe it tracks what I'm saying, or maybe I just sound insane. So one of the other things I realized was for a long time, if you knew me, I always talked about how much I hated children, especially like the littler they are. I mean, to be fair, babies still creep me out. It's just the physicality of them. I'm not a fan. Their little heads, I don't know. They look weird. I think it's just the gestation process. Like, I don't like how long it takes for them to be able to take care of themselves. Like, we're the only species that does that. But anyway, I think the reason that I hated kids, I don't think, I know the reason that I hated kids for so long is because I was jealous of them. And I mean, I don't know why no one ever suggested that to me. It's like so deeply, deeply obvious to me now that I resisted them for so long because I was jealous of them. Because my childhood, I didn't get to completely do. And I'm trying to be a kid now. And I mean, my God, it's so simple. It's so easy. I mean, it's duh, obviously. But I've really embraced children and really enjoying them quite a lot now. And I fell especially in love with my friend's child, Ruby, this year. And just, I can't even tell you. And I've really had a lot of children I mean, I've always had kids come to me through my work because of how I work. And I just I had never really acted like I got them, but I did get them. I just didn't really want to interact with them, but it was kind of just like this block that I was putting up for myself because it was like a guard or something. But I don't know, I've even had a lot of kids make me artwork and stuff, and it's been really cool. And just like really connecting with them, and I don't know, I really enjoy it. But God, Ruby is a saint. Okay, so I tried to take on more responsibility this year. And that meant like also having, again, boundaries is a word, but when I like hosted my bubble parade this year, I turned it into a paid event because that was something that was draining me. So by doing that, I allowed myself to be able to provide more services and jobs for other entrepreneurs. And speaking of jobs, I created jobs for people this year. That's pretty cool. Like I hired back. So I also like in the beginning of last year, I didn't have any sort of plan or structure, and I just like ran through all of my money and had to like not fire, but let go my social media manager, and it sucked. So I hired back my social media manager, and we've been working together so well. I've created jobs for people at my events and my festivals and other things. Like that's been really cool. And I also experimented with different roles with Matt where like I mean, my goal ultimately would be to retire Matt and have him not work, but we tried different things for the summer where I was making all the money and he barely was working, and now that's not what's happening because things have changed, but that was really interesting as well. I started cleaning my dad's house twice a month. I made also, I did like pro bono events. I did free coaching. I fostered Luca. You know, that was meant to be taking him in and paying his medical bills and getting him healthy, which was so expensive. And some of you helped me with that, and that was amazing. And I really appreciate that because it was way more expensive than I thought it was going to be, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. But why is the vet so expensive? But I ended up he didn't work here, and we tried for so much. Tried so long with him in all the different ways, but it just wasn't a match. And then we found the perfect home, and I'm so grateful for them, Taylor and Caitlin, for taking him in. And okay, what else did I do? I started cleaning my dad's house twice a month. I said that, and just kind of like keeping him in the loop more because he's not doing very well. I also tried to make so I made actually two different groups this year. So I usually only had the Merriment Makers, but now I also have the Feel Good Troop, which is a much lower price point and more accessible. And I made a free group, which is the Positive Pulse. So that's like, so anybody can join and have access. And I also made a lot more free resources. I'm doing the podcast more regularly. I'm doing the Merriment Mondays live. I'm doing a lot more social media. So just trying to make sure that I'm like kind of getting back into making things accessible for people. I've sent a lot of thank you notes to people. I've tried to be like, whenever I spend time with my friends, I use this service that sends postcards and pictures to people. So like they have like a memento, and people really like that. I helped people start their businesses and gave them ideas and tips. And whenever I was with somebody, like I would try to, if they had questions, I wouldn't, that would technically be charging them for coaching. I would just do that. Whenever I went to get like anything that, I hate the word influencer, but like an influencing experience, I would always bring someone along with me and share those like kind of luxury experiences with people. I created a lot of interactive art this year, more than I have in a long time. I babysat people's houses and their animals, pet sat? Weird. I would fill in for events if people needed someone last minute. And I had to say goodbye to my mom again, which was extremely painful. And it was a very, very, very difficult decision. And I also stopped trying with a couple other family members who I've been, after over a year, been trying consistently to be in their lives and just, being like, hi, like not being weird, just, trying in different ways and just not getting a response. And then on the other hand, with friends or more acquaintance type people, I don't really expect responses with them anymore. And I'm reaching out to them and inviting them to events and wishing them happy Halloween and Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's, whether they respond or reciprocate or not. I donated a lot of my stuff. I still have way more than the average person. I'm still probably a maximalist till death, but who things can change, obviously. But I had a really good yard sale where everything was $1, and people were really excited and grateful to get all sorts of things from all parts of stuff, whether it was a rug, $1, or plus size clothes, $1, and they all went to really good homes, and just kind of like really decluttering and not having as much stuff, not buying as much stuff. And I really tried to be mindful about RSVPing for something that I couldn't attend, and also showing up to things that I couldn't, and following through with going to things that I couldn't. I usually am good about that, but I think that's another way to be responsible. I think maybe 3 times that happened where I wasn't able to go. And that was either due to plans changing or pain. I put myself second more often than I think I have in a long time, maybe ever. And it's difficult, you know? I'm I don't know. I think I'm just trying to demonstrate like specific ways. This isn't like, I know it maybe sounds like I'm lifting myself up or you're bragging or whatever. Like, I'm just trying to find like examples of ways that what this looks like, you know? And to give you an idea, because I don't know, if you are somebody that has a similar history and background, you might feel like you are anti-responsibility and pro-freedom and what that looks like. And someone said something in a money talk about how you, how did she say it? It was something like, in order to expand your money, you have to expand how many people you're willing to be responsible for. And I think that mindset is really valuable. I think I act quite petulant quite often. I think that entitled is the right word. And I don't think I've ever really meant to do it. I think I was consistently simultaneously treated like a child and an adult for a very long time, where I was expected to be a caregiver and then also diminished in terms of my value like a child, if that makes sense. Like, I'm trying to think of a tangible example of that. Like, I, from a very young age, was expected to do things that were very difficult and mature. And then also and up until today, if I say something, it's, or express something or want to do something, it is disregarded as though I'm 5 years old. So I think there's a weird dichotomy there that comes from parenting and child rearing, for me specifically, that I don't think is that uncommon, actually, for people to feel like regressed in a constant state of adolescence. And I've been learning about how, a child, we have the ego, the id, the ego, and the superego, and then we also have like child, adolescence, and adult. And I think that there's this state of adolescence that a lot of us get stuck in, and what that might mean is that we're doing something with the expectation that we're just doing it so that we don't get in trouble. There's this bargaining aspect that it's like, not necessarily that we don't get in trouble, even that it's that we're like doing it so that there's some reward too. It's like, oh, we're going to do this so this happens. We're going to do this so that this doesn't happen, instead of just doing something because it's in alignment with your value, or that because you just know it's the right thing to do, you know? And I think that I'm definitely guilty of that. And I'm trying to move forward in a way that's like, no, I'm just doing this because it's right. I'm doing it because I want to, because it feels right. And even that kind of seems selfish. But I can't think of a better way to say it right now. Okay, what else? I don't know. I hosted a lot of events. I really did. I had a lot of online, in-person events. A lot of them were free. But my intent was to, really, a lot of the time when I host paid events, it's because people don't come. And they say they're going to come and they don't. So adding a price to stuff is because people just don't show up. And also because it costs money. And it is time. And it's not that much money. Everything is so expensive now. It's really crazy. The inflation has gone through the roof. And I really should raise my prices for a lot of things, but I don't. So, but my intent with the events, whether they're online or in person, I wrote this yesterday and I think it's really good. is that people can access both their inner child and warrior. And I think that that is something I want to talk about more. Some other cool things. I saw a Van Gogh painting in person, and I had such an emotional reaction to it. It was the picture, I'm crying in the picture of me standing with it. Okay, what else did I do in this? Oh God, we didn't even get to the surgery stuff. Okay, so I mean, this has been documented pretty well, so I'm not going to get into all the logistics of it or the specifics, but I had multiple surgeries, multiple hospital visits, multiple doctor appointments. I mean, I can't even count the doctor appointments. The amount of times needles have been stuck in me, I can't. And I'm and they've been having a hard time getting blood from me because I have like really low levels of CO2 and chloride and stuff. I don't know. So I have new medicine, I have new side effects, I have so many tests and massively horrible physical pain. So the thing is that what was the highlight for a lot of people was the tumor. And the thing is that the reason that I got surgery in the first place is because I have endometriosis, and it was everywhere. It was on every single organ, my uterus, my vagina, my fallopian tubes, my ovaries, my bladder, I don't know, but anything, everything. And it was level 2. And like, if it's at level 3, it starts to kind of like deform your organs. So luckily it was caught before that happened. But it was, some people, when they even get it removed, it's not even at it can be at not even a level that they can diagnose it with, and it can still cause you pain. So there's like no level, level 1, level 2, and then level 3 is when it's like starting to misshape your organs. So I have level 2, and it's like everywhere. So they burn it all off, or so I think, and that's when they also find the tumor. But the tumor was this incredible peak of distraction and heightened fight or flight and scariness. And because it has this word attached to it, tumor, and a potential appendix cancer that we thought it was, that was misdiagnosed, and all of these other tests, and I had to go to all these oncology wards and specialists, and they had to do all these conferences on me because it is so rare. It's more rare than getting hit by lightning. It's insane. So that was the highlight for everybody and me for about 8 weeks. And then when I found out that it is in fact LAMN, which is the low grade appendiceal mucinous tumor, say that 10 times fast, pickle peppers, then I found out that luckily I don't have to get chemotherapy or the other kind of chemotherapy for your appendix, or your abdomen rather, and that I just have to get scanned once a year. And what happened then, and even before that, because I kept living, I kept showing up on social media and in life, people started just like messaging and posting and commenting and texting things like, glad you're okay, glad you're doing good. And I know that this has been an ongoing thing for all time, that when things are invisible, people don't understand. I mean, it's not even just with illnesses. It's like, if I can't see my hair ties, I don't remember to use them, or like good shoes. Like if they're under the bed, like we're going to forget about them. We're very visually reminded creatures. But I didn't really understand the whole, because I was throwing a Halloween party meant that I was better. I thought that was very bizarre behavior on a lot of people's parts to make that assumption. But I think the thread was lost, that the reason that I had surgery in the first place was because of endometriosis. And I think there's a lot of, I mean, I certainly had no idea. I had it for 20 years and I didn't know until they operated on me about how bad this is. It's really bad. It's really, really bad. And I don't know why it only happened to get so much worse in the past year for me. I mean, it was just that I would have pain on my, when I would ovulate and when I menstruated. And now it's just constant. It's like I'm having contractions every day. It really, really, really sucks. And unfortunately, I'm a very rare case where it got worse after the surgery. Most people have extreme alleviation of their symptoms and pain after the surgery, and I don't. So it's actually gotten worse. And I'm on a waiting list to see an endometriosis specialist. And it's likely that I'm going to have to get another surgery. And that the medicine that I'm taking, it's called Orilissa, it kind of kicks you into perimenopause. And so I'm getting a lot of side effects, hot flashes, night sweats, dehydration, sensitivity to light and screens, nausea, dizziness. There's more. Brain fog. Stop. So anyway, like it sucks, and I tried going off the pain medicine or the Orilissa and did I tried it for 4 days and I couldn't stand the pain, so I went back on it. The side effects are better. But I have to keep remembering that even though the endometriosis pain and issues are still ongoing, without them, we would not have found the tumor and I absolutely would have died because that Lamin tumor, it would have killed me. So it's lucky, honestly, that the pain from the endometriosis actually got really bad because I wouldn't have done anything different because I've been having that level of pain with my periods for years and everybody just told me that's what it's supposed to be like. So, okay. So, yeah, I mean, the first half of the year was a lot more glamorous than the second half. I mean, I was having people like message me in the first half of the year saying like this was my time because I was on the news a lot. I had a lot of media coverage from this bubble parade. I did so many art festivals. I did some of the largest scale installations that I've ever done. And that was because I got to collaborate with like Hampton Highlights Festival and the O'Reilly Arts Festival and the Charles Village Arts Festival. And I got to be on the news multiple times. I tried stand-up comedy twice. I decided that wasn't something I really wanted to do. I hosted more in-person events than ever. I did a lot of stuff. And the last quarter of the year has sucked so much for a lot of reasons. And a lot of the days have felt awful. Just like not just pain, but misery and sadness and hopeless. And the pain, though, is one of the worst parts. And like it's labor contraction level pain. And I'm trying very hard to still be me and run a business. But I also realized, I was talking to Matt the other day, you know, what changed? Because, you know, for the first like month and a half after the surgery, I was still in a lot of pain. And, you know, it's gotten progressively worse, but I had this gumption around me. And like, what has changed in the past, like, other month and a half? You know, this most recent month and a half, is it just that it's like continuing to go on? But like, you know, when I first got out of the surgery and had all this stuff, even going to all these extra doctor's appointments, even though everything sucked so bad, I had this like fire inside me of like, I got to do this. I got to make this happen. Like, and I was so intense about life and making things happen. And now I feel deeply depressed. And he was like, I think it's because the Reaper isn't at your back. And I was like, oh my God, that is exactly what it is. So this is what I mean by values not meaning anything if they're not being tested. So my understanding of life's impermanence has always been ubiquitous. And by what I'm going to say that again because I feel like I tongue twisted myself. My understanding of life's impermanence has always been ubiquitous. And what I mean by that is I think about death a lot, much more than you would imagine probably from looking at me. I am very aware that this is my life and that we are all very fragile and the wrong fall can kill you, and that this is a gift. And I have existential crises so much, just the concept of us being alive and spinning on a ball, and that we are having a subjective consciousness so often that I just say existential crisis out loud every time that I'm having one. And I say it a lot. And I felt this even before the first surgery. I had this deep sense of gratitude for, like, this resurgence of gratitude for life, because I was like aware of the potential complications of anesthesia and surgery, and how this could all go wrong. And then when I came out and I had that tumor and I had that like thing hanging over my head of, yeah, this could be it. You could die very quickly from this, or you might only have this many years left. That created a deeper sense of urgency. And then when I found out, nope, no, you don't. Like, this isn't going to kill you. In fact, we have a great maintenance plan for it. You just have another new thing to add to your fucking list of a weird one in not even 10,000 thing. It's like more rare than getting hit by lightning. It's just another tragedy to add to your trauma list. And another thing you have to do and maintain, right? And on top of that, your pain for endometriosis, and also add that to your list, that new diagnosis also. And I'm just so sick of having diagnoses, honestly. And then, if you can't tell, add the pain on top of that, which seems to be unrelenting, increasing, and never ending. And I think that the combination of the understanding that, sure, I could get hit by a bus and have an accident, but my general life isn't in a state of a threat. Like Matt said, there's no Reaper at my back. There's no Grim Reaper. Death is not at my doorstep, in a way of like, there's no immediate threat. And the idea that with this lack of immediate threat, the longevity of my life is now intertwined with increased pain and misery, that's making me depressed. So I was like, oh my God, of course that's what it is. So what I'm trying to do now is remind myself daily that I could die at any moment. And I know that's deeply morbid. And also, it's not, like, it's true, because it doesn't have to be from the tumor. You know what I mean? Like, it can be from anything. We all can die from anything. There could be another thing in me, right? Like, there's so many ways to die. The point is that every day is a gift. And I need to start treating it like that instead of being a miserable crap piece. Crap piece? Sure. So, yeah. I mean, I even, like, Matt and I even had, I almost left Matt during the surgery. And then I broke down everything. And when it comes down to is that everybody has their problems. And I considered leaving. And it's because it was difficult. And then I also realized that what was making it difficult was me. Most of the time. Not all the time, but most of the time. And when I just let it not be difficult, it's easier and I'm happier. Okay. So, yeah. Yeah. I also gave up I was also doing like a search for spirituality and religion. That was carrying over from 2023 into 2024. I went to all these different churches, and like, not churches, like not all called churches, like a Buddhist temple, right? Like different kinds, right? And I just stopped. I really just completely stopped after I realized that none of them are for me. And that my religion is literally just like walking and looking at details and poetry and merriment. Like, that's my religion. And it's not that it's not actually religion, it's spirituality. There's no organized form of religion that's right for me. And I also just believe that everything is right for everybody. So, what else was good? I don't know. I got to go on some road trips. I used I got some really great video testimonials from the Merriment Makers. I found an Artomat. I stayed in a hotel on the ocean for the first time. I ate a waffle cone from the original machine that made the waffle cone, that invented it. I met Matt's grandma. I went to a weed dispensary. I didn't really like it. I don't really like weed. I ate a kiwi for the first time. I didn't realize I'd never eaten kiwi. Maybe I had eaten kiwi and I forgot. I stepped in a kiddie pool full of thousands of Orbeez, those little gel beads. I wore an inflatable unicorn costume for the first time. I won a pencil fighting competition. I photographed the aurora borealis, but I didn't really get to see it. It only showed up on my phone. I fed koi fish. I finally made it to April's dad's amazing 4th of July party after being invited for like a decade. I met 2 different iguanas. I photographed all these rainbow flowers in my neighborhood. I actually got to do 2 bubble parades. I did a second one at the Hamden Highlights Festival, and that was really cool. My title at the Hamden Highlights Festival was the Art and Merriment Director. That was really cool. I was the runner-up in a hat contest. I made a really cool hat, and I put a bunch of My Little Ponies on it. It was huge. We made a maypole for the first time. April got me a cardboard cutout of Danny DeVito, and that's a new essential staple in my house. I got all the ephemera back from my dad's house. I didn't realize that I had left it there, and I turned it into like this bulletin board and all these photo albums and these official kind of like documentations for my street art projects and just really cool things that meant a lot to me. I made that Merriment treasure swap box in my front yard and let people take stuff out of there and filled it up regularly, even though people weren't really swapping with it. Matt and I had our anniversary dinner at the place that we wanted to go to on our first date, and we finally went back there. I hosted the No Pants subway ride in Baltimore. I'm not going to be able to do that this year. There's many things going on. We also dealt with 4 floods and massive home repairs and a landlord that didn't believe me. And I'm really proud of all of the quality of the videos that Francine and her team and I have been making on social media, even though it seems like no one is seeing them. And that's okay. Someday they will. And yeah, I tried Zumba. I tried swimming classes. I framed a lot of my art finally and put it on the walls. Okay, so I was in a tabloid article in England for Naked Gardening Day. That was weird. All right, so for moving forward into 2025, I want to continue expanding on responsibility, but also I want to incorporate rest into it. Like right now, what's happened in the past 3 months is that one of the ways that I've made income very stably, or I guess consistently without really needing to think about it, has gone away without like an announcement or a warning, I guess. And Matt's needed to go back to work full time. And I'm also like we know, in pain. So it's difficult to work, but I'm just doing it anyway. I'm working, 10-hour days still. And navigating those symptoms with the eyes and the screens. And also I made 2 new programs that are very inexpensive, the Merriment Reset and the Feel Good in 5 Days, which I'm actually really proud of. I think that that's kind of where things are moving towards, maybe non-subscription based things that are easy to access, 5-minute long, pre-recorded material. And I just want people, realistically, I want people to be able to get things that make them feel good. And I know that in hard times financially in the economy, that purchasing things for yourself is like the first thing that goes. And I know that after 10 years of this, or 11 years in business, that, I don't know, it's like, I know that people are really wary of anything because they feel like they're being manipulated and everything's a scam. And I know that. And I don't know. I don't want people to feel like that, but I also know why they do. But if you do want tips for, feeling better, that are backed in science, that are easy and simple and effective, then I don't know. I think what I'm trying to move towards is really just having goodness in your ear all the time, just having like positivity flooded through your veins. So it's like we can't really do anything else we can't control anything else that's happening in the world, really. So why not have just goodness coming into your email all the time, onto your phone, into your mailbox, just counteract it. And also build these tools that are going to help you have the resilience to be anti-fragile, not to be able to understand like the nuances of how to deal with problems. So, yeah. Okay. So I'm looking into how to expand my capacity for more responsibility, how to be non-entitled, not selfish, care for more people, reach more people, and also incorporate rest into it, because it's really not good for me to be talking about how to take care of yourself and not take care of my own self, especially when I'm not doing well and have an actual reason to not be doing well. Overall, 2024 was not bad. It's just that this last quarter is, the last thing in my ear, and that it hurt a lot. So, yeah, I hope that this, I don't know what I hope this is. This is just an update if you want to be voyeuristic, I guess. But yeah, if you do want to do anything in terms of, because today I'm recording this on New Year's Eve, what I'm going to be doing tonight is I have like all of these like reflection things that I do. So I would usually have them already done, but I'm just going to make a whole night of it. I'm going to do like a vision board. I have I offer it if you want to buy it. It's like it's all the prompts that I've been using for a decade to kind of reflect on my year. And you can also like use it to make a New Year's ritual plan and how to plan for your new year. And there's also a happy year course in there about how to make goals that make you happy, and a bunch of other bonuses in there. And then for the whole month of January, I'm doing 5-minute challenges that come to you in your email every day. And it looks really cool. I'm very excited about it. There's challenges, there's journaling, there's EFT, there's guided breath work, there's guided meditations, there's video lessons, there's a bunch of different kinds of ways to learn. It's very cool. And if you want even more, there's a Feel Good in 5 Days program, and that's also delivered in your email. And yeah, I think that's good. Oh, I also have 90 ways to celebrate New Year's Eve on my Instagram. All right. I think that's enough. It's almost been like an hour. I love you. Thank you for being here with me in any capacity throughout any part of Uncustomary, Merriment Making, and me. I hope you have a really good New Year's Eve. And here's to 2025.